How did this 37-year-old with 0 playoff series wins, whose best players wanted him fired, and had LeBron do this, become the best coach in the NBA? To find out, we must go back to the beginning. Here is the Erik Spoelstra story. Erik Spoelstra, born to Dutch-Irish father John and Filipino mother Elisa. He spent most of his youth in Portland, Oregon, where his father was a GM and marketing director for the Portland Trail Blazers. Erik's father was so successful as a GM in Portland, he once traded 2 weeks of his consulting services to the Indiana Pacers for their all-star starting point guard, Don Busey. Officially, the trade was for cash and other considerations, so other teams didn't get wind of the details. Under their father's tutelage, Erik and his sister were given daily note-taking assignments to motivational speakers like Earl Nightingale and Ziglar before they were allowed to eat breakfast. Spoelstra still keeps copies of their tapes to play for inspiration. Spoelstra was a basketball junkie. Erik's coach in high school at the end of his sophomore year challenged his team to shoot 30,000 three-point jump shots over the summer. Spoelstra not only put up 30,000 shots, but charted the shots so he could tell how he was progressing. Not surprising, he was the only one from his team that put in the work. Erik also had the unique advantage of being a GM's son. He would spend hours at longtime Blazers coach Rick Adelman's full-size court at night, and even snuck into his video room and edited together highlights of Michael Jordan and Mitch Richmond. He even credits Adelman with opening his eyes to the coaching world.
So he's probably had as much of an impact and inspiration for me to get into coaching as anybody. I had never even thought about it before that. I feel like I grew up in Adelman's house, but that was the first time that I saw what NBA coaching was all about. When I saw his home office and then saw how he approached the game and saw that you could be very normal and humble and understated and still excel at coaching, I don't know, it just lit a spark in me, and I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. I never ever thought about the coaching profession, before. So he was the biggest inspiration.
But before coaching took hold, Spoelstra had eyes on a pro playing career. In high school, his pickup rival was future NBA star Damon Stoudemire. Spoelstra was even able to get into Sonny Vaccaro's legendary prospect camp after his junior year. Spoelstra was instructed to feed Alonzo Mourning the ball and stay out of his way. While at camp, he was blown away by Shawn Kemp's athleticism and got schooled by a younger Bobby Hurley. He started to realize he wasn't as gifted as he thought. Erik would secure a scholarship to hometown University of Portland in the West Coast Conference.
I was supposed to redshirt. There were some injuries, and before I knew it, all of a sudden I was starting. So that year was not planned to be that way.
Spoelstra would be awarded WCC Freshman of the Year and start all 4 years. One of Erik's most impactful college memories was in the West Coast Conference tournament. He ran back on defense against Loyola Marymount and watched college sensation Hank Gathers soar for an alley-oop. Gathers collapsed a few feet away and died that night.
Tonight in Los Angeles, tragedy at the WCC tournament. Loyola Marymount senior Hank Gathers collapsed on the court. A short while later, he was pronounced dead.
As college progressed, Spoelstra showed a knack and interest in coaching. One assistant even noted, he figured out an opponent's intricate series of hand signals and deciphered what they meant. The rest of the game, he knew every play.
A lot of us wanted to be coaches, but most of us were thinking high school or college. Nobody was thinking at the pro level. Eric Musselman, Bernie Bickerstaff, they were the original WCC guys, and then that's how the San Diego guys broke into the league. Mike Brown was really the first one, Chris Grant. I played against those guys, and Neil Meyer. And then obviously Fizz and Borrego came after that.
After graduating with a degree in communications, Spoelstra boxed sneakers in a Nike warehouse until the German club TuS Herten signed him to a player coach. Spoelstra adapted again as he was the point guard and lead assistant, reviewing plays at the pub. On the side, he coached a team of 12-year-olds who didn't speak English. Things weren't all bright. His first year, Erik developed back problems in Germany and contemplated having surgery. During the offseason, he even accepted a head coaching job at Sherwood High School in Oregon, but backed out a week later so he could return to Germany. He had this to say about the impact of going overseas.
Totally different than the style of basketball that I'd played in college. It was more of a European style, and passing and cutting and driving and finding three-point shooters. We had a lot of great three-point shooters. That type of flow is something I've tried to bring to what we do to this day. I remember we used to have shooting practices back with Hareton, which we had never had before, but during lunchtime we would have an hour shooting practice just to get a lot of extra reps, and I thought that was a great idea.
After a second season, he applied for the Heat's video coordinating position in 1995 as a part of a bet with his German teammates. When the Heat called with a date for an interview, Spoelstra almost declined because he had tickets to a Grateful Dead concert. Even after landing the gig, he was ready to turn it down until his sister asked if he'd lost his mind. The position was only guaranteed temporarily due to the potential coaching change. Pat Riley was hired soon after Spoelstra.
It's my distinct pleasure and honor to introduce you to the new president and head coach of the Miami Heat, Pat Riley. Pat.
I said the same thing in Los Angeles, and I said the same thing in New York, and I think the one thing that keeps me going and keeps me dreaming and trying to develop this image, I don't know if it's Biscayne Boulevard or I don't know where it is, but there's this image in my mind about the symbolic parade, this championship parade, and I mean that's the only reason that I coach, is that I want to be part of a team that simply wants to try to achieve that objective someday. And I do believe that Mickey and Dave and Pauline, I think everybody in this city, this great city of Miami, would like to achieve that also.
John's father had said, contractually, Riley wasn't even allowed to bring his own video person in. Otherwise, his son would have been out of a job right then. Spoelstra knew little about video, coordinating video, editing video, or how to keep the job. In his own words, I was kind of like the concierge/video coordinator my first year, Spoelstra remembers. I just figured I wanted them coming to me with as many different things as possible to lean on, whether it was basketball related or not. I wanted to be the guy who they'd pick up the phone and say, he'll get it done. Erik got coaches laundry, walked their dogs, and lived in a windowless storage room nicknamed the Dungeon. He would edit video all night and have cut up highlights ready for the team the next day. Spoelstra also shagged rebounds for Dan Marley, lifted weights alongside Tim Hardaway, and old high school campmate Alonzo Mourning. He role-played opposing point guards and went one-on-one against prospects in pre-draft workouts. One executive even asked who Spoelstra was after seeing the video guy take apart a prospect. Spoelstra started climbing the ladder in 2-year chunks, starting as video coordinator, then assistant coach/video coordinator to assistant coach/advanced scout, and finally assistant coach/director of scouting. During this time, he started having 90-minute phone calls with Stan Van Gundy while commuting. He wrote 25-page reports on Riley's preferred blue stock paper about pick-and-roll defense to the DNA of a champion. He took on young prospects and helped develop players like Dwayne Wade. Each spring, though, Spoelstra put out feelers for college openings, believing he could advance further at a lower level. Van Gundy finally wrote him a letter that read, "You can coach in this league." Spoelstra still keeps it at his desk to this day. Throughout this process, Spoelstra was committed to one main thing, the work. One roommate said that he called Erik after their apartment was robbed to lament the loss of personal mementos. Spoelstra responded by asking if they took his black shirt. Then he went back to work without caring about his stuff being stolen. His mentor Pat Riley also preached this quality. Erik recalled seeing him put Miami through a practice from 9 to 4:30 p.m., asking the team, "You think that was hard? We're so entitled. That wasn't even a full American workday." When the Heat acquired Shaq to pair with Dwayne Wade, that would allow Riley and Spoelstra to win a championship together. After the win, the Heat would lose in the first round the next year, and then stumble to a 15-67 record in Riley's last year. Pat would stay on as president and handpick Spoelstra to be the next coach.
Erik was head coaching material when he entered the league. He had spent a good portion of his time studying the game as an assistant coach, as a video coordinator, and then when he got the job in 2008, when I left, he was ready.
Spoelstra would become the first Asian American head coach of any of the 4 major North American sports leagues. He hit the ground running, taking the worst team record from the year before to the playoffs, where they lost to Atlanta in 7 games. He would get his team to the playoffs his second year as well. Coach Spo would get his biggest challenge his 3rd year as LeBron made the decision.
The answer to the question everybody wants to know. LeBron, what's your decision?
In this fall, man, this is very tough. In this fall, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach and join the Miami Heat.
Miami Heat. That was the conclusion you woke up with this morning.
That was the conclusion I woke up with this morning.
Why?
Like I said before, I feel like it's going to give me the best opportunity to win and to win for multiple years. And not only just to win in the regular season or just to win 5 games in a row or 3 games in a row. I want to be able to win championships, and I feel like I can compete down there.
With expectations sky high, Spoelstra wanted to stay in the moment. He even resisted temptation to get intel from his old friend Mike Brown, who had just coached LeBron, saying, "I didn't want to know, I just didn't. This is a different year, and it's about staying in the present." After Chris Bosh joined the Big Three started just 9-8, tensions began to rise. Rumors swirled about Spoelstra being removed. LeBron even shoulder-checked Erik mid-game, clearly frustrated with his new coach and the pressure. LeBron, Wade, and Bosh held a private meeting with Riley. The team president recalled, "They told me they weren't feeling it. LeBron looked at me and asked me, 'Don't you ever get the itch? The itch to coach again?' Riley replied no, but as LeBron walked out of the room, he scratched his leg as he went. Meanwhile, Spoelstra invited a few friends to his condominium and promised them, 'I'm not going out like this.' Miami won 21 of the next 22 games, leading to some of the most entertaining and exciting basketball of the decade. The Heat would make it to the finals, only to lose to the Dallas Mavericks. Spoelstra took the loss incredibly hard, as he was unable to counter the packed-in Mavericks defense. He called it one of the worst nights of his life, and stayed up all night in his office, spiraling until he reached an epiphany. By early morning, he was telling his assistant, David Fizdale, they needed to tear it all down and revamp their approach. Spoelstra, a football junkie, visited with Urban Meyer, Butch Jones, and most extensively Chip Kelly while at the University of Oregon. Spoelstra found inspiration visiting their practice to more of an open pace and space offensive philosophy. He also revamped his practices to a no-huddle practice that eliminated waste and kept his players' attention. Wade had this to say about Spoelstra.
Pat Riley set the standard, but Coach Spo improved on it. And you really see his DNA inside the organization. And now it's not just Pat Riley's show. Right. It's Erik Spoelstra. In 2008, where Coach didn't know what the hell he was doing. And I'm just so proud of him because he's consistent. He does it every day.
Casual observers may have seen Spoelstra as a babysitter to the stars, but inside the organization, he was author and practitioner of the Heat Code, a spiral-bound guidebook filled with theories and quotations that outline the club's mission. On one page of the manual, handed to players before each of the past 4 seasons, Spoelstra defines their identity. We want to be the hardest working, best conditioned, most professional, most unselfish, toughest, nastiest, most disliked, most prepared team in the NBA. An unusual number of pictures in the book include blood.
No. You should be sacrificing. You should be sacrificing.
Coach Spo would use this code to get the Big Three back to the finals the next year, defeating Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and the Oklahoma City Thunder. The team would repeat the next year thanks to the last-minute heroics of Ray Allen.
Won't go! Rebound Bosh! Back out to Allen! His three-pointer! Bang! Tie game with 5 seconds remaining!
The championships would validate Pat Riley's choice, LeBron's faith in Erik, and help Spoelstra sleep at night. The Heat would reach the finals for a 4th consecutive year before losing to coaching legend Greg Popovich's Spurs. This would signal the end of the LeBron era, and soon after, Chris Bosh would need to retire for medical reasons. Coach Spo would also say goodbye to Dwayne Wade before finding a completely new identity with the help of new recruit Jimmy Butler. In their first season together, the Heat would make the playoffs as the 5th seed. The season had been suspended due to the COVID epidemic, and the end of the season and playoffs resumed in the NBA bubble at Disney World. Spoelstra would guide his team to 3 straight upsets en route to a finals matchup against the Lakers and his old friend LeBron. The Heat would lose 4 games to 2, but became the 3rd lowest seed to make the finals in NBA history. Despite Coach Spo's success, he continued to give back, participating in yearly trips to the Philippines to conduct basketball camps and connect with the community he is loved by. Many people want to know more about Heat Code and Heat culture. To dig deeper, we have to look back at multiple controversies involving his players on court. Coach Spo not only preaches the principles, but practices them. Spoelstra's ability to get through these moments are due to his compassion, competitiveness, and willingness to embrace confrontation for the success of the team. Bam Adebayo says Spoelstra demands 3 things: eye-to-eye communication, nothing is personal, and the debate involves a situation. Players themselves never seem fazed by these confrontations. Consistently, they state that Spoelstra cares and wants what is best for them and the team.
I got so much respect and love for Coach Spo. He is an incredible, phenomenal, all of those words, great coach, because he really, really, really believes in his players. He empowers us to do whatever we can and want to do on the floor, as long as we playing hard and we're playing together. He just wants to win, man, and he works so hard. He's always studying. He's always in communication with all the coaches, with all the players, all the way down the line. He just always give you this. And sometimes it's not even a speech. It could be a look. And it's like, you know what, man, I'm running through a wall for this guy. So, man, Spos, he's obviously a Hall of Fame coach, but every day he just shows me something new.
But one of Spoelstra's biggest secrets may be keeping his favorite player around to help reinforce the culture.
But my favorite Miami Heat player is not a Hall of Famer, but he's a Miami Heat Hall of Fame, and his number will go up in the rafters as soon as he's done. And he was the player when we won our first championship against Oklahoma City, Game 5. He was the one that dumped the Gatorade bucket on me. And that was Udonis Haslem, and he is Mr. Miami. We've been through everything together. So my first year as an assistant coach was his rookie year. Kind of grew up in this business together. The number one characteristic that I think could help determine your future success is persistence. Some people call it grit, but persistence. And Udonis is a perfect example of that he had to take a different path to then play 17 years for the Miami Heat. But he was extremely persistent when maybe some people would have quit or they may have gone a different route. He found the grit to just keep on going when doors were closed and people said no. He said, I'm going to find a way to get that yes.
In 2023, the Heat came into the season with 8 undrafted players. The Heat had ups and downs, but made the NBA play-in game, losing their first game to the Atlanta Hawks, but advancing past the Bulls to be the 8th seed. Spoelstra would guide a rare 8-1 seed upset over Giannis and the Bucks. They would win the next 2 series to advance to the finals for Spoelstra's 6th time as a head coach. The Heat would lose to the Denver Nuggets, but Spoelstra was again praised for coaching and developing players other teams had overlooked. He had this to say: "The undrafted guys, it depends whatever your organizational philosophy is. We don't typically have a ton of draft picks, that's just us. It's not right or wrong, that's just our philosophy. So we have to stockpile and develop our talent base, sometimes in different ways to fill out a roster. But if you have a big dream and want to be challenged, we feel like we can be the place for a lot of those kind of guys." As a part of the NBA's 75th anniversary, Erik Spoelstra was selected as a top 15 coach all time. Erik Spoelstra's remarkable journey through the world of basketball is a testament to his unwavering dedication and unparalleled leadership. Beyond the championships and accolades, his impact on the community stands as a shining example of his character. Through his initiatives, he transformed lives, using the power of sports to uplift and inspire. As the final buzzer sounds on his illustrious career, Spoelstra's legacy will forever be intertwined with the growth of basketball and the betterment of countless individuals both on and off the court.